Hello and welcome to the Political Napalm here on Election Day. So, as you can imagine, it is Election Day here in the United States, and of course, our choices are Donald Trump and J.D. Vance versus Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. To me, the choices are painfully clear, but I'll get into that a little bit later. If you happen to be a fan of this channel, I'm sure you can figure out which way it is that I am leading. Now, there's one thing that I wanted to get out of the way before I go into anything a little bit further. I did vote early, and I voted early by mail. I want to explain that process here in North Carolina to kind of contradict everything that is going on about voter ID and fraud and stuff like that. When I voted early, I was sent a form. The form was quite intricate with many parts in there. One of the things you had to do was include a copy of your ID, which in my case was a driver's license. So I had to copy and print out the ID. So that's number one. Fill out the ballot and you mark everything. But because mine was mail-in and mine was early, what I had to do was go and get it notarized. Yeah. So about all that fraud stuff, not only do you have to provide an ID, you also have to get the whole thing notarized, which for me was fairly easy. I've had some things notarized recently, so I kind of knew what to do. I knew UPS stores were available for that. A lot of shipping stores have those services. And that's what I did. And when you go and get it notarized, it costs $1.77 in postage plus additional money to the company that was taking care of this for me. I was also asked to attest that everything I signed on the form was truthful. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say this was on the level of putting my hand on a Bible and swearing in open court or anything like that, but it was pretty similar. I had to say on my honor that everything that I put in that ballot and in that form and all of that stuff was, in fact, completely true. Now, I may have a little bit of an issue with my vote counting because my license still has an old address, not my current address. However, everything else lined up. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if I get adjudicated and somebody questions me about it. But it was a pretty involved process, and it all felt very secure from top to bottom. My girlfriend went and voted at a polling place that was where she works. So she got that out of the way. She voted early. I voted early by mail. I know for a fact that my father voted early also. Now that that's out of the way, let's come back around to our buddy Jeff Filliaw, a.k.a. Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, a.k.a. the QCAT guy, a.k.a. Commander. I don't even know what the hell he thinks he's the commander of. AKA the Curse of Oak Island dude, AKA the con man, grifter, liar. So here's the deal. Back on October 29th, he posted this clipped, what seems to be a tweet. Now, as you could see here, there is no source. You cannot go and find this tweet yourself because he doesn't provide the context. He links his stream over on Locals and just dumps this picture out here. No context, no way of sourcing this whatsoever. Now, this is typical of Jeff because he knows that if you go after him for his facts and the things that he posts like this, he gets destroyed. We've covered this on the channel just countless times right now, and it is amazing to me how much his sheep continues to allow him to get away with this. It is patently ridiculous from top to bottom. Of course, we've covered one of the most egregious things that he did was to be racist and anti educational, in which he posted that video of the fight in a girls' locker room at a school. And he made it out to be that it was a teacher and a student, when in fact it was actually two students. Now, there are some people on his page right now who remembered that event and called him out on it and said, we don't need this kind of disinformation on our side here and everything, but they still continue to be Jeff sheep. They're still here. And that really goes to show you how bad the cult of disinformation is. How people can get so steeped in it that they can't get out of it, and they don't want to get out of it. They see constant proof that their side has problems, or that somebody's lying to them, or somebody's feeding them propaganda, and they just want to consume it. Mostly, and I'm sorry to say this, for those who fit this age range, and this is a discussion I have with my girlfriend many times over this, and this is a thing that she believes in strongly, and I agree with her on it. It seems to kind of be mostly boomers that are lonely and have a deep sense of wanting to belong, so they fall into these groups and they feel that I'm home, I'm with my people, I'm sheltered, sort of like an AA meeting, but it's more like Disinformation-aholics Anonymous is really what it is, or Misinformation-aholics Anonymous, or Propaganda-aholics Anonymous. They feel that they are being surrounded by people and loved and understood in a way that maybe some of their family doesn't. You see a lot of people on Jeff's page talk about losing family over the COVID restrictions, and I want to see my grandkids, but I want to mask up, so the parents aren't letting me, or their voting preference for Trump and other horrible rightoids and everything. Just an aside for a moment, here in North Carolina, speaking of horrible rightoids, I despise Mark Robinson to his utter core. That is a vile, disgusting man who has made comments of like, these people need to understand that some folks need killing. And he is ridiculously heavy anti-abortion, despite the fact that his wife has had one. Of course, all of the controversy over the mini soldier stuff, that I'm a black Nazi, and all those. Look, and I understand I don't want to kink shame over here because people have their fetishes and everything, but don't claim to be like a pastor and pro-Christian and family values when you're off on these forums basically writing Dear Penthouse letters that you are pissing on the butthole of a sister to your wife, and then the friend comes in and she's getting pissed on too, and just, it is absolutely disgusting, the things that Mark Robinson posted. And for him to then turn around and claim that it's a CNN smear and it's the Democrats and everything, it was actually Republicans who broke the story and CNN ran with it. There was no way his lawsuit, his defamation lawsuit, is going to work. My guess is that when he loses the election today, he's probably going to cancel that and be like, well, you know, why even? Well, actually, maybe he'll try and stick to his guns and say, this reporting cost me my election and I would have won if not for that. But I believe he was already down double digits before that story broke. But anyway, back to Jeff and his misinformation here. He posts this screenshot of what honestly looks like a tweet to me. Obama resettled 70K Somalians to Minnesota. They elected Omar. Planned? You bet it was. So everybody gets enraged. It is the fear of the outsider. It is the fear of the foreigner. It is the fear of a not white person. Somalians have had bad reputations in the upper states, in the middle of the country, the Midwest. I think even Canada, there's supposedly some stories, it's just like these kidnapping things and all this other stuff. So it preys on the fear of the other. It preys on the fear of replacement theory. It preys on the fear of this belief that America is homogenous, which it is not, and that this will make it even further not homogenous. So what is the truth? This meme or this viral post, came out in 2019. Claim President Barack Obama resettled 70K Somalian refugees to Minnesota. No wonder Rep. Ilhan Omar was elected. Same thing, right? No. Minnesota only received about 6.3K Somali refugees under the Obama administration, and only 54K of them came into the United States from 2009 to 2017. In contrast, the administration of George Bush placed roughly almost 10K Somali refugees in Minnesota. So not only did Bush settle more into Minnesota than Obama did, during the entirety of the 2 terms of Obama, we only hit 54K, yet this purports that 70K went to Minnesota alone, and you could extrapolate, obviously, some more have come in and are in other areas of the country. This is such disgusting bullshit. Sorry for the language, animated here, because I'm so tired of what Jeff does. And I have to sit here and come in to all these people who make a comment on it and give them the truth. And never once does anybody come back and say, damn, really? Like, it has been so long since I've seen somebody say, Jeff, what, like, seriously, what is this? Jovan, what is this? Why are you telling us this stuff when this fact check is coming through and proving you to be violently wrong? I mean, there's no other phrasing for this. This is ridiculously over the top, violently wrong. And this is why he's not sourcing it. And this is why he never sources this stuff. Because he knows if any of his sheep were able to do just a modicum of goddamn research, they would know how much he lies. Okay, maybe you can make the argument that he's not actively lying, he's passively lying. He's regurgitating stuff that comes his way, and he's not putting it in the blender, he's not chopping it up, he's not looking at the nutrition information. He's just handed a piece of pizza. Somebody says this is really good pizza made from premium ingredients, and he eats it, and he tells everybody, hey, this is really good pizza, without knowing that there's wax in the cheese, the sauce has too much sugar, the crust is doughy and not cooked properly. Either way, if you want to attempt to defend Jeff and say he's not an active liar, he's a passive liar, that is just as bad. Because the end result is, if you are a Jeff sheep, you are being misled, whether he's actively doing it or passively doing it and being an idiot and not doing the research. Mind you, this is the guy who had a hand in inventing a piece of tech, who was on a show out of Dallas, Texas in the late 90s, in the burgeoning days of the internet, called Net Talk. You should believe that this person is technical. You should believe that this person has some wherewithal to navigate the web. Yet, he consistently, if you believe the passive liar story, doesn't source things, doesn't research them, and feeds it to his flock. It is my guess it leans more towards active lying, and this is to keep people enraged and engaged. Back when Trump was on the scene in 2015 versus Hillary, I coined a phrase that I haven't said as much lately, but it's still very much a thing until Trump goes away. Centrifuge politics. If you've ever been on that ride when you were a kid called the Gravitron, it basically spins really fast and it puts you up against the edge of the ride, and usually the panel kind of slides up to allow some alleviation of the G-force on you. If you stand in the center or somebody sits in the center, they're fine, but at the edges, you are thrown up against the boards. Sometimes hair and earrings gets caught in those panels. That is what Trump has done to politics. He's spun the left out further left. He's spun the right out further right. And I think there are less centrists than there used to be. These sort of just barely over the left line Democrats and these sort of conservative people that are anti-MAGA but are still Republican and conservative. That, I think, is growing a little bit now under Kamala. I think the centrifuge politics is beginning to diffuse a little bit. I do believe we're going to see more independents vote left. I do believe we're going to see more classical Republicans vote left because they know Trump and MAGA needs to be flushed. But this just serves to keep these people enraged and engaged. He is gravitating or centrifuge politicking these people way out to the sides, because anybody who believes this, like this Eddie McCoy, truth, anybody, like, people need to know there are grown communities in the country, people that do not like America and Detroit, blah, blah, blah. It keeps these people fed. It is pig slop put out in a trough, and they just come by and munch on it, and they do it happily. That the pig doesn't know what it's eating. It's just doing it. This one, they're in it for the long game. Meanwhile, this is what is actually happening. Larry Savage, a Republican who ran for Congress representing Indiana's 5th Congressional District, has been arrested and charged with stealing ballots from a voting machine. So, hey, right-wing fraud. There you go. This guy over here punched an elderly Harris Walz supporter and knocked her down to her feet. Republican problems. A local Indiana GOP official cried foul after a voting machine test resulted in an inaccurate count. It turns out because he's the one who stole the ballots. And I believe it's probably that guy. You have a supporter of President Trump was arrested today for encouraging Republican people to stay in the early voting line repeatedly and block the line. It's a dirty tactic. So you have that. You have the fact that there was a lady who works for Michelle Morrow here in North Carolina. Michelle Morrow of Obama should be hung for treason, military tribunals. Yeah. She's one of those types of people, and she's running for position here in North Carolina. One of her people stalked a lady and cyberstalked a lady and continued harassing her because she was simply a Harris Walz supporter. This Eddie McCoy guy, this is the guy who said truth somewhere else. Yeah, said truth up here. And then he's like, oh, you're causing drama. I saw the picture. Democrats are blocking like Republicans. No, they're not. The only time you could say anything like this are the poll workers who are sending people out of line that are wearing Trump gear. I have not heard of an instance of anybody wearing Harris Walz gear online, which you're not allowed to do in many states. I've heard of no Democrats getting kicked out of polling locations, but Republicans are, and they're getting mad and violent about it, like that one old guy did. Peggy Lewis, this is one of the people who was around for all of Joven's missteps, the fake Babylon Bee, CNN screenshot with the Chiron. People fell for that, but then called it out on Joven's page, the racist anti-intellectual story that I've been talking about with the 2 students where he portrayed as a student teacher. Peggy was around for that. And, she's still here. And Scott Pressler is doing a great job about registering people to vote. This is the same Scott Pressler who was kicked out of the Virginia RNC because he was making gay sex videos in the Virginia RNC office, and he was out in Pennsylvania claiming he registered more Amish people in a specific area than even live in Pennsylvania. So he's probably in a lot of trouble. This is what happens. This is the unreality that these rightoid propaganda spewers like Jeff, they do to their flock, and the flock stays, and when the proof is out there, they don't leave. Sometimes these people even call them out on it because they actually do the research. That teacher-student, which was really a student one, there was a lot of people out there who knew the truth before I could get to them, and they called Jeff out. And of course, he's never going to apologize. There was that video that I've covered on the channel where it was taking place in a Russian convenience store, but Jeff was telling you the context was an illegal trying to rob an ice cream store in the United States. There is goddamn Cyrillic font in the video. That's how bad he is. You can see there is Russian text, Cyrillic text in the upper left of the video. You know it's not taking place in the United States if you just look at it, but no, he's convincing his flock this is an illegal committing a crime in the United States. It is not. He posted a picture of a lady wearing a shirt. This is back in the early days of the 20s over here. The lady was wearing a shirt that said, "I'm the kind of teacher Trump warned you about." And it looks like she's in a classroom, and up above the chalkboard or the green board is a bunch of headshots of past presidents, and Trump was upside down. He, of course, the flock is like, this is why I homeschool and all this other stuff. And, this is why students are being brainwashed. And this is like CRT and all these other things. Yet the picture included a shopping bag icon down in the bottom left. The lower left had a little kind of grocery bag looking icon down there. Anybody who has ever been on the net for more than 5 seconds knows that that means that was a picture taken likely from a shopping site, be it Amazon or Walmart or anywhere else. Clearly, what that was a picture of was a product, and that was a person wearing the product for it to be sold. At the time that Jeff had posted that picture, when I did a reverse image search on it, the only site on the net that had that picture was a pro-Putin Chinese language propagandist Twitter account. A rightoid, pro-right, pro-Putin, pro-communist China Twitter account was the only other site on the web at that time that spidered into that picture. But that's Jeff. And I had to point out to people, I was like, do you see that little icon in the lower left? And somebody was like, yeah. So I was like, that is a shopping bag icon down there. That meant that this is something for you to put into a cart and buy. There is no proof that that teacher actually wore that shirt in front of a classroom full of people, and that at the time students were in there, that they were seeing a picture of upside down Trump. As a matter of fact, you can tell by the lighting that it was dark. No kid, other than high schoolers who may go in early in the morning, no kid is in school when it's dark. As dark as it was in that picture. That was clearly post 4:30, 5 o'clock at night, at least. So it was somebody simply modeling the shirt. Later on, when I continued to search about that one, it turns out that that person actually does have a real Twitter account and is an educator, but they did not wear that shirt to a class in front of students. She was simply modeling the shirt. I can tell the truth of that. At the time when I searched the picture, only one site had it, like I said, but later on it actually was a real human being. She has a real Twitter account. But that doesn't matter to Jeff because he's stirring the pot. That's all that he does. The pot is the people on his page that are sheep, and he's just a pot stirrer. Meanwhile, let's check in with how these Trumpers felt about Trump's rally in Raleigh just a few days ago. Actually, I think it was like yesterday, but here we go.
Why did you decide to leave? Trump still speaking?
Yeah.
You guys leaving early? You guys leaving early?
Yeah.
Taking off? Hey, you guys leaving early?
Yeah.
All right. Leaving the rally early?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys leaving early?
Yeah.
You guys leaving early?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys taking off a little bit early?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys leaving?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you decide to leave early?
I've heard it before.
Heard it before, it's kind of boring. Yeah. Trump.
There is another video out there from this same rally of Trumpers right behind him, the most coveted spot, the spot that he likes to put the blacks for Trump and the, all the people he thinks are his tokens in a certain way. Everybody surrounding him in the screenshots is falling asleep and yawning. Some people are full on eyes closed. this is what America has been doing to Trump lately. They're walking away from him because it's tired, it is old. And let's face something here. When the attack was on Biden for being the oldest candidate, who was only a few years older than Trump himself, when Biden dropped out and it switched over to Kamala, Trump became Don Old. He became the oldest candidate out there. And as has been proven by people who collect data on stories and everything like that, Biden's age was way more of a news story than Don Old's age. And the gaffes that he's doing, the stanky leg that he's doing with the right leg that he swings out, the inability to grab control of that door of the garbage truck, and he took 2 or 3 times to get it, and his legs were going out. Like, we've all gone to grab something and maybe not had a good grip, and you grab it and you don't have the good grip, so you sort of fall back and the handle snaps back and you're like, whoops. I will tell you an embarrassing story about myself. I was going to a drug test for a job, and there was a blow of leaves up against the curb of a sidewalk. So I didn't actually know where the sidewalk began and ended in the leaves. And I was walking into the drug test, and I put my foot down, and the toe part of my shoe caught the sidewalk, but from the arch backwards to the heel, it was still actually at the parking lot level. So I lost my footing, I pinwheeled and went forward, scraped up my hands, my pants that I was wearing at the time. I kind of, in an instant, looked like a homeless person at that point. And there I am going for a drug test in that shape. I just wanted to be like, dude, just fail me now. Like, just take one look at me and fail me. Like that. Of course, it was clean and I was perfectly fine. But those events happened. But when it happened to Trump, like, he wasn't close to the handle, and he was very close to going down. And that right leg has consistently been an issue. A lot of people believe when he had that emergency visit to Walter Reed in 2019, it was probably a stroke, and people point to continued visibility of post-stroke issues since then, and that right leg has been a big target. So if you haven't seen that video of him whiffing on the garbage truck, you should go out, see it. Another news story that has apparently been bigger in European countries than here in the US, and I understand maybe classic media is afraid to touch this because maybe they're afraid of drawing his ire or being revenged upon by Trump, whether or not he gets into power. But Michael Wolff has tapes that he recorded with Epstein, and sadly, he released them way too late. He released them basically like a half a week to the election. He should have gotten them in early or middle October. But these tapes are with Epstein talking about Trump. And I've listened to a bunch of them. Epstein praises his real estate prowess. He's like, he's good in real estate, and he can be a charmer because he will tell you what you want to hear. I'm surprised at that because Trump doesn't seem to be incapable of that intelligent level thought. But okay. This is a younger Trump that Epstein is referring to, of course. He's like, he does have some charisma. He will tell you what you want to hear. He is a pretty big whiz in real estate. Now, I don't know how you're still a whiz in real estate when you bankrupt a casino, but maybe you could say, well, that's management. He failed at the management, but the actual procurement of the building, he was a wizard with it. But he describes himself as being very close to Trump. He says that what Trump would like to do, and I think he maybe did it to Michael Cohen, is that he would talk about feeding these guys models, bringing them to parties where models and young girls were, but he would secretly have the wife of the person he was talking to on speakerphone, and it was a trap. So what would happen is if the person falls for the trap and says, yes, I want to indulge in these proclivities that you and Epstein want to do, then he breaks up the relationship, and Trump actually tries to move in and bang the wife. If the person does not fall for it, then the wife, of course, believes their relationship with said male is secure, and the person is not giving in to the temptations of these young girls who were likely underage. Epstein alleged Trump and Melania first slept together on his private jet, the Lolita Express, which the Trump campaign has used in one of the areas where his jet was not allowed to land, so he used the Epstein jet. I don't know if he's continued to use it, but there were several trips where Trump was using the Epstein jet. Epstein suggested Trump was a serial cheater and loved to use his power to pursue women. We've heard that. We've heard it on the tape. I took her out furniture shopping. I moved on her like a bitch. I tried to kiss her. She's got these big fake boobs. Hold on, let me get a Tic Tac in case I start kissing them. I mean, the Access Hollywood tapes, the Howard Stern stuff and everything. This has been proven from Trump's old word. This isn't blue and on stuff. This is real. Trump reportedly had scalp reduction surgery and referred to himself as the Trumpster. The scalp reduction surgery came into play when people talked about him hitting Ivana and abusing her. And she was under NDA not to talk about it, and right as the NDA expired, she somehow fell down a flight of stairs and is buried in a golf course at Bedminster. Michael Wolff came out with these too late. I've seen a tweet of his on Twitter where he's like, I don't understand why this has so much more coverage in Europe than the United States. And even people who they believe this situation and they agree with it have said, then why did you release it so damn late? He is under fire for coming and doing this bombshell way too late. But seriously, whether you're pro-Trump or anti-Trump, you need to listen to these Epstein tapes. How do you know all this? Well, I was Donald's closest friend for 10 years. These people who try to defend Trump and say, oh, Trump kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago because he knew what he was doing at the parties. No. Similar to Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney, Trump and Epstein had a falling out over real estate. Trump outbid, I actually forget which way it is, but one of them outbid another on a piece of property they were both interested in, and that's where it began to dissolve. Similar to Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney, where Paul McCartney told Michael Jackson, the real money is in the rights. If you hold the rights to a song or an album and music and stuff like that, that's where the money is. So Michael Jackson went and bought the Beatles catalog, and Paul was pissed. He's like, that's not what I meant. And that's where the friendship dissolved. And if you remember, like, Say around that time, they were pretty good friends. Yeah, that's what ruined it. It's very similar to Trump and Epstein. Wolf shared the tape with the Daily Beast ahead of discussing it on his Fire and Fury podcast on a previous Monday. Last Thursday caused shockwaves by revealing a few seconds of other recordings. When Fire and Fury was published in January 2018, Trump tried to stop it with a failed cease and desist, just like he's trying to do with the Sebastian Stan Apprentice movie and all of that. And here is more rightoid propaganda that a guy who said these polling stations were going to be under threat and you should stay home and vote remotely and all this other stuff. The guy was Alpha Fox 78, well known for being a Russian bot, and he's admitted that he was paid by the Kremlin to do these stories that polling locations might be under fire and could be a ground zero for terroristic activity. This is not happening on the left. This is happening on the right. So I implore you all to keep these things in mind when you vote. Because if you vote right, and you vote it specifically, if you vote MAGA, your Marjorie Taylor Greenes, your Lauren Fatberts, your Shakes McGee, Paul Gosar, your J.D. Vances, your Matt Getzes, if you go for that, a MAGA, the Freedom Caucus, the America First, all those people, this is what you're voting for. You are voting for a continued situation where these things happen, and you are voting people into power who may cover these things and make sure they don't get revealed. Actually, no, I think this was the one who said a bunch of Haitians who cannot vote were voting and everything. I don't remember if this is the... Actually, let's see. Is this the... Yes, this is the Haitian guy one. This isn't the terroristic activity. An American social media influencer said he was paid $100 by a pro-Kremlin propagandist to post a fake video of Haitian immigrants claiming the vote in the United States. Yeah, so this was the Haitian one. But there's also other fake news that these polling locations are going to be ground zero for terrorist attacks, and that is also fake. So keep that in mind. Happy voting day. I hope an administration decides to make this a federal holiday at some point, or gives people leave to be allowed to like take time off and vote. Because to me, I mean, think about the situation of a single parent who puts their kids to school. They go into work themselves. Maybe they have some kind of provision to leave work early to pick up the kids, or they leave work and they work, remotely from home for the last couple hours. When do they get to vote in those kinds of situations? And if drop boxes come under attack, if mail-in voting comes under attack, early voting where they can't vote on a weekend or something, if that comes under attack, people like that are screwed. Let's push for a federal holiday where people can take legitimate time off, pay time off, and actually vote and be patriots for this country and not traitriots like MAGA is. Political Napalm out. Happy voting day.